under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States and placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety.
𝗟𝗢𝗢𝗡, otherwise known as Order Out of Chaos. What you're seeing here is the Masonic compass. You might have already noticed the all-seeing eye. In Masonry, there are two paths presented: the York Rite and the Scottish Rite. The Scottish Rite will be our focus, as this is where Freemasonry began and where their teachings stem from. With Freemasonry, there are a total of 33 degrees, with each degree providing a candidate to go through a ritual to progress through the path. Here is a quote from part of the ritual of the first degree of Freemasonry to understand just how loyal everyone is to the Brotherhood and the repercussions if they try to speak up.
Mr. Smith, you are received into Masonry upon the point of a sharp instrument piercing your naked left breast, which is to teach you, as this is an instrument of torture to your flesh, so may the recollection thereof be to your conscience, should you ever reveal any of the secrets of Freemasonry unlawfully.
From the moment you become a Mason, something is clear. You will be killed if you reveal the secrets of the Brotherhood. The symbols on your screen are just a handful of Freemasonic signs. Consider them a calling card. To proclaim their loyalty whilst maintaining secrecy, Masons use these symbols. Starting at the top left, you see the hidden hand. Next, the vow of silence. Lastly, the Eye of Horus. Starting at the bottom left, the 666 symbol. Next, the devil horns. Lastly, the pyramid hands. These signs are only scratching the surface. Let's go even deeper. What you're seeing here are the pillars 𝗧𝗪𝗢 and 𝗧𝗥𝗢𝗡𝗟. They are accompanied by black and white checkered floors. Both are located within every Masonic lodge in the world. They represent duality, or, as described in Luciferianism, as above, so below. This is 𝗟𝗢𝗢𝗞 Pike. He was one of the biggest teachers of Freemasonry and a respected authority within the Brotherhood. His teachings are so praised within Masonry that he is actually buried in the House of Temple Walls located in Washington, D.C. He is quoted as saying the following in his book, Morals and Dogma. That which we must say to the crowd is, we Masons worship a God, but it is the God that one adores without superstition. To you, Sovereign Grand Inspectors General, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and the 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, would Jesus spread false and harmful statements about him? Yes, Lucifer is God. This is the sigil of Lucifer, alongside the pentagram. Notice the shape on the bottom? It looks exactly like the Masonic compass. That's because Satanism and Freemasonry are linked. This is the founder of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey. Both he and a man named Aleister Crowley taught the same thing. Do as thou wilt, as well as duality of life, as above, so below. Inverting the truth, flipping the world upside down. It's also a statement tied to a belief in universal karmic law. Part of karmic law is to reveal the truth in plain sight. The reason is to prevent themselves from being held accountable for their own actions. Say I sell you an apple. It's poisoned. You buy and eat it. You then die from the poison. In the eyes of Luciferian karma, I would be responsible for your death. However, if I have a sign that says, apple's so good you'll die, and you still buy the apple, eat it, and die, I am no longer responsible for your death since I warned you. Doesn't this story sound familiar? That's because the very first example is Satan in the Garden of Eden. What you are seeing here is the Baphomet, otherwise known as Lucifer or Satan. Do you remember, as above, so below, that was mentioned earlier? Well, that's exactly what the Baphomet's hands are symbolizing here. This same theme is seen in the dark and light moons at the ends of each hand, which were also on the two pillars, 𝗧𝗪𝗢 and 𝗧𝗥𝗢𝗡𝗟, which are found in every Freemasonic lodge. Now that we know the occult's origin, symbols, and beliefs, let's take a look how out in the open their symbolism and end goals really are. One of the first and most obvious pieces of society with those same signs and symbols we saw earlier is located on the United States $1 bill. Starting at the top of the pyramid is 𝗟𝗢𝗢𝗞𝗘, which means he approves our undertaking. At the bottom, Novus Ordo Secrum, which means a new order of the ages, otherwise known as a new world order. Don't forget the all-seeing eye located at the top of the pyramid, which is the exact same one we showed earlier. These Latin titles belong to Apollo, which is the fallen being that the enlightened individuals want to take power over the world. The phrase Novus Ordo Secrum goes back to a Greek mythology prophecy to come upon the world. It reads as follows. Now the last age by Cumae's Sibyl sung has come and gone, and the majestic roll of circling centuries begins anew. justice returns old Saturn's reign, with a new breed of men sent down from heaven. Only do thou, at the boy's birth in whom the iron shall cease, the golden race arise, befriend him, chaste Lucina, 'tis thine own Apollo reigns. He shall receive the life of gods, and see heroes with gods commingling, and himself be seen of them, and with his father's worth reign over the world. Assume thy greatness, for the time draws nigh, dear child of gods, great progeny of Jupiter. See how it totters the world's might, earth and wide ocean, and the vault profound, all, see, enraptured of the coming time. What this prophecy is describing is Apollo, a god amongst men, ruling the world out of chaos in a golden era. A man who has a hold on the masses, one the people seek. With that said, we now know who this God we trust is talking about, the Antichrist. The eagle on the right of the seal is not an eagle, but a phoenix. A phoenix rises from the ashes of destruction to bring forth a new order, one out of chaos. You probably recognize most of these faces. Each plays a specific role within the New World Order. Let's start with Yuval Noah Harari. Yuval Harari is a well-respected historian and one of the major mouthpieces of the World Economic Forum. Endorsed by the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Obama, and Klaus Schwab. The following are segments from his speeches, where he looks to win over the world to their new form of ideology. He's known as the prophet of the New World.
Need to wait for Jesus Christ to come back to earth in order to overcome death? A couple of geeks in a laboratory can do it. Have the possibility of upgrading humans into superhumans? If we are giving up on gods, but we will turn ourselves into new kinds of gods, we'll maybe acquire divine abilities. In the next few decades, we are likely to see the emergence of non-organic life. And the greatest revolution not only in history, but also in biology. We may see the emergence of a new massive class of useless people. People who have absolutely no economic value. It's estimated that within, say, 30 years or so, up to 50% of the jobs in the job market will be taken over by artificial intelligence and computers. Everything from driving taxis to diagnosing diseases to even teaching. Artificial intelligence will be able to do better than humans. Where will the new religions emerge from? Probably not from the Middle East. If you are looking for the new Muhammad or for the new Lenin, he or she is probably in Silicon Valley and not in the Middle East. This is where the new techno-religions are emerging from. Just as communism promised paradise on earth with the help of electricity and steam power, so now you see the emergence of new religions, new techno-religions that promise paradise on earth with the help of genetic engineering and artificial intelligence and computer algorithms and so forth. And they are much more ambitious than anything we've previously seen throughout human history. To give just one example before I wrap it up and leave time for the discussion. For the first time, I mean, even Lenin and Marx, with all their ambitions, never went as far as promising people immortality. Yes, paradise on earth, but eventually, even in the socialist paradise, you die. And they kept their mouth shut about what's happening to you after you die. But the new techno-religions that we see emerging from Silicon Valley and similar places across the world, they even promise immortality here on Earth with the help of technology. For example, Google has established 2 or 3 years ago a sub-company called Calico, whose stated mission is to solve the problem of death.
Humans are now hackable animals. You can hack them.
Maybe in a couple of decades, when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis is this is the moment when everything went digital. And if this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian regimes, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin. I think that the big process that's happening right now in the world is hacking human beings, the ability to hack humans, to understand deeply what's happening within you, what makes you go. And for that, the most important data is not what you read and who you meet and what you buy, it's what's happening inside your body. So we had these 2 big revolutions, the computer science revolution, or the infotech revolution, and the revolution in the biological sciences. And they are still separate, but they are about to merge.
But when you have a lose-lose situation, like with climate change, it's much more difficult without some overarching authority, real authority. Now, how to get there and how would it look like, I don't know. And certainly there is no obvious reason to think that it would look like Denmark or that it would be a democracy. Most likely it wouldn't. We don't have workable democratic models for a global government. So maybe it would look more like ancient China than like modern Denmark. But still, given the dangers that we are facing, I think the imperative of having some kind of real ability to force through difficult decisions on the global level is more important than almost anything else.
What are humans for?
As far as we know, for nothing. I mean, there is no great cosmic drama, some great cosmic plan that we have a role to play in it. And we just need to discover what our role is and then play it to the best of our ability. This has been the story of all religions and ideologies and so forth, but as a scientist, the best I can say, this is not true. There is no universal drama with a role in it for Homo sapiens.
And here's the follow-up, which I think is being published in the US next week.
Yeah, next week.
Homo Deus. Now this is the history of the next 100 years.
I mean, there is nothing that, I don't know, Joseph Goebbels didn't know about all this idea of fake news and post-truth. He famously said that if you repeat a lie often enough, people will think it's the truth, and the bigger the lie, the better. Because people won't even think that, something so big can be a lie. And I think that fake news have been with us for thousands of years. Just think of the Bible. But one option that some people talk about is that only a catastrophe can shake humankind and open the path to a real system of global governance. And they say that we can't do it before the catastrophe, but we need to start laying the foundations so that when the disasters strike, we can react quickly. But people will just not have the motivation to do such a thing before the disaster strikes. So the next step is we turn our gaze inwards and we say, okay, gaining control of the world outside us did not really make us satisfied. Let's now try to gain control of the world inside us. This is the big, really big project of science and technology and industry in the 21st century will be to try and gain control of the world inside us, to learn how to engineer and produce bodies and brains and minds. These are likely to be the main products of the 21st century economy.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. Next is Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab was the World Economic Forum founder and chairman from 1971 to 2025. The World Economic Forum is where all world leaders gather to discuss their global plan. Klaus is also the author of the book and strategy called Agenda 2030. In case you haven't yet noticed, every leader, regardless of their political side, meets with Klaus. That's because your presidents, prime ministers, kings, and so on are all controlled pawns. They have never been elected, but instead selected. Each play a character to help inch society closer and closer to their final plan. Let's hear what Klaus Schwab envisions this plan to be, as well as how they are getting there.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to participate for the 8th time at this important meeting. With all the current issues on our agenda, we tend to forget that we are in the midst of the 4th Industrial Revolution, which accelerates global change in much more comprehensive and faster ways. History is truly at a turning point. We do not yet know the full extent and the systemic and structural changes which will happen. However, we do know that global energy systems, food systems, and supply chains will be deeply affected. In times of crisis, the role of governments is more important and more relevant than ever. What is also needed is a summit like this one to go beyond crisis management and to look into constructive ways we can build our common future.
I don't know how it will play out in November, but what we know is that we will end up with many more unemployed and particularly also people in the grey economy, which are not counted for, who lose their jobs. So we will see definitively a lot of anger already now, but probably increased by the end of the year, because this crisis will be with us until we really have found a remedy. So we have to prepare for a more angry world, and how to prepare? It means to take the necessary action. I just see the need for such a dialogue, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
It never has been more important than now, where we have to face the consequences of the pandemic of COVID-19. Nobody will be safe if not everybody is vaccinated. Young people, you are rallying behind the global wealth tax to manage the alarming surge in wealth inequality. You are calling for programs that help you and young progressive voices join government and become policymakers. To limit global warming, you are demanding to halt to coal, oil, and gas exploration. You are asking firms to replace any corporate board directors who is unwilling to transition to cleaner energy sources. You are championing an open internet and a 2 trillion digital access plan, and you are presenting new ways to minimize the spread of misinformation, and you want to combat dangerous extremist views in the internet. Let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
Au bout de ça, on parle de plus qu'on pourra s'implanter. Ce sera quand ça?
Certainement dans les 10 années à venir. Et d'abord, on va les implanter dans nos vêtements, c'est-à-dire wearables, comme on le dit. Et après, on pourrait s'imaginer qu'on les implante dans nos cerveaux ou dans nos topos. Et à la fin, peut-être il y a une communication directe entre notre cerveau et le monde digital. Ce que nous voyons, c'est une sorte de fusion du monde physique, digital et biologique.
On appelle quelqu'un, on n'a même plus le réflexe de devoir prendre un appareil, ça se fait naturellement. Hein. La technique continue le corps.
Oui, vous parlez et vous dites, je veux maintenant être connecté avec n'importe qui. Et d'abord, vous avez les robots personnalisés. Et j'ai vu que M. 𝗧𝗔𝗞𝗘 a prédit qu'à la fin de l'année, il va avoir son robot, son butler personnalisé qui est à sa disposition.
Donc, comme dans Downton Abbey, on aura son butler personnel, son serviteur, son esclave.
Oui, mais il y a une différence. C'est un serviteur qui, avec l'intelligence artificielle, apprend et qui n'est pas seulement votre assistant pour des travaux manuels, qui peut vraiment être un partenaire intellectuel de vous.
This afternoon, the Secretary General and Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, will witness the signing of a memorandum of understanding on a strategic partnership between the UN and the World Economic Forum, which outlines areas of cooperation to deepen engagement between the two institutions and to jointly accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda.
Klaus Schwab stepped down from his role as chairman, and in his place is Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock. More on that later. Next up, Donald Trump. First, we need to go back to 2015. During a CNN interview, Trump talks about faith, more importantly, who his preacher was. Let's take a listen.
I want to ask you about faith, because you talked about this on Saturday at this Faith and Values Forum, and I think a lot of people haven't heard you talk about it and we're really interested.
Okay, fine.
In Iowa.
And by the way, I was very well received. I had the biggest standing ovation, and it was really a great day. It was really a great day.
And a lot of people didn't focus on it because they got caught up in the whole McCain thing. You said at the Faith Forum, when asked if you've ever asked forgiveness from God, you said, I'm not sure I have. I just go on and try to do a better job from there. I don't think so. And that surprised some people
I don't
of
think
faith.
so. You know, and then I said communion. I go to communion, and that's asking forgiveness. You know, in my
For you,
opinion,
that's what communion
it's a
is.
form of asking for forgiveness. Yes, communion. And I go to church a lot.
But
I'm Protestant. I'm Presbyterian.
But the idea of asking for forgiveness, that's not a central. Is that a central tenet for you? Is that something
Well,
that just...
I like to work where I don't really have to ask for. I like to do the right thing where I don't have to actually ask for forgiveness. Does that make sense to you? You know, where you don't make such bad things that you don't have to ask for forgiveness. I mean, I try and lead a life where I don't have to ask God for forgiveness. But I'm Protestant. I'm Presbyterian, which a lot of people are surprised to hear. I go to church. The great Norman Vincent Peale was my minister for years. The Power of Positive Thinking was fantastic. And
so for forgiveness,
has heard the poem called The Snake? So I have it. Does anybody want to hear it again? You sure? Are you sure? So here it is, the snake. It's called The Snake. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. "Poor thing," she cried, "I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed that vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. "You're so beautiful," she cried. "But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died." She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. "I have saved you," cried the woman, "and you've bitten me, heavens why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die." "Oh, shut up, silly woman," said the reptile with a grin. "You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in."
This is Marina Abramovic. She is the highest-ranking witch in the occult. She often does satanic rituals in the name of art. Remember her face for later because you're going to notice how many celebrities work and perform rituals with her. With that said, here's a clip of Marina describing Trump's purpose.
It's the best thing happened ever to us, that he is the magician of the highest order, that he is there in his irrational mind to create confusion in order that the human being can find new order. And you know, it's not so stupid thinking about this in that way. It's completely turning things upside down. Because since Trump is around, things are changing.
In how, how their life is conducted or what they're in support of.
I just to share with you one really funny opinion. But there is in Lapland, there is a group of the shamans there who do something called collective dreaming. They will go together in seclusion and do the rituals with eating very little food and being in a solitude for a long time. And they will go and dream the dreams. And the dream have to be collective same dream. So coming out of this dream, once the shaman told me that actually the best thing happened in this planet right now is Trump to be the president. I said, how is this possible? It's the best thing to happen. He said, yes, because he's so irrational, he's so crazy. That's actually create that awakening, that we finally wake up. because before it will be another guy and everything looks similar, but he's so different than anything else. So he's the magician who waking us up.
Did you catch it? Marina, the world's highest-ranking witch, just told you Trump's a magician, one of the highest order. She admits to a ritual being performed by mediums communicating with demonic spirits to reveal this quote-unquote truth. He is to provide the world with a false awakening. One where people think they're awake to the world's corruption when in reality they are falling into a trap. Both political sides have the same end goal. They create a problem, cause a reaction, and give a solution. They bring order out of chaos. The final example of this is comparing Bill Gates and Elon Musk. One is seen as a Democrat, the other a Republican, both a savior figure to either side. Watch and see just how similar their visions and end goals are. Bill Gates, alongside several other technocrats, are the mouthpieces to convince the masses on the Democratic side of the coming world order as a good thing. Gates, prior to the pandemic, had a global pandemic preparedness plan called Agenda 201 in October of 2019. Months later, the pandemic came upon the world. He would then later go on to obsess over mass surveillance and monitoring efforts, along with mRNA and DNA-altering technology. He also has an obsession with spraying our skies to stop quote-unquote climate change. Let's hear what he himself has said.
In this year's annual letter, Melinda and I take the toughest questions we get asked and give our answers. One that's come up for a long time is, as we make the world healthier, is the population going to get so big that feeding everybody and maintaining the environment is going to be impossible? Here we can see a chart that looks at the total world population over the last several hundred years. And at first glance, this is a bit scary. We go from less than 1 billion in 1800, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.4 billion where we are today is happening even faster. So Melinda and I wondered whether providing new medicines and keeping children alive, would that create more of a population problem? What we found out is that as health improves, families choose to have less children. And this effect is very, very dramatic. We find that in every country of the world, this is repeated. The population growth goes down as we improve health. So we've taken that chart that shows the global population growth, and we've actually extended it out all the way to 2100. And we can see that instead of continuing, it actually flattens out. Another way to see that is through this rate of population growth. And you can see that in the 60s, that reached a pretty high number, over 2% per year, and it's now come way, way down. Now, 11 billion people, still a lot, but the good news is that the faster we improve health, the faster family size goes down, and so we can feel great. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes. We need to meet a new constraint, and that constraint has to do with CO2. CO2 is warming the planet. And the equation on CO2 is actually a very straightforward one. If you sum up the CO2 that gets emitted, that leads to a temperature increase. And that temperature increase leads to some very negative effects. I asked the top scientists on this several times, do we really have to get down to near zero? Can't we just, cut it in half or a quarter? And the answer is that until we get near to zero, the temperature will continue to rise. And so that's a big challenge. It's very different than saying, we're a 12-foot high truck trying to get under a 10-foot bridge and we can just sort of squeeze under. This is something that has to get to zero. Now, we put out a lot of carbon dioxide every year, over 26 billion tons. For each American, it's about 20 tons. For people in poor countries, it's less than 1 ton. It's an average about 5 tons for everyone on the planet. And somehow we have to make changes that will bring that down to zero. It's been constantly going up. It's only various economic changes that have even flattened it at all. So we have to go from rapidly rising to falling and falling all the way to zero. This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Confident are you that we as a global community will deal with the next pandemic better?
Well, there were a lot of people in 2015 after the Ebola epidemic who were talking about what needed to be done. And in this pandemic, the countries that had some exposure to SARS-CoV-1 were amongst the outliers. So Australia is a true outlier. They orchestrated diagnostics, they executed quarantine policies, and they have a death rate in a different league than the other rich countries. I mean, just utterly different. Very honored to have this chance to meet. And we've always had great conversations, and we'll have a lot of important topics to discuss today. I was very disappointed I couldn't come during these last 4 years. And so it's very exciting to be back.
咱们有3年多没有见面了。你是参与到这个中国发展事业中做了很多事情的人，是我们的老朋友。
In 2020, Bill Gates made headlines for becoming the largest private farmland owner in the US. He had accumulated more than 269,000 acres of farmland across 18 states in less than a decade.
Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution. Creating a massive chemical cloud looks something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic eruption, which we know cools the Earth.
Thinking, writing, and speaking about climate risk, what in your mind is at stake if these projects in green hydrogen and sustainable jet fuel, long-term battery storage and carbon capture, what's at stake?
And so the faster that we could find ways to mitigating the rising temperatures, I would say the more just society could be. I would just add one thing, Eric.
Sure, please.
Unlike when Bill talked about the pathway for solar and wind, that was a 30-year pathway to bring it competitive to hydrocarbons. We don't have 30 years. We don't have 10 years. And so to me, this is about the acceleration of the science and technology. This is about really emphasizing these areas where we have to focus if we're going to get to a net zero world.
Elon Musk is the Republican version of Bill Gates. This is yet another example of how both political sides are fake and are working towards the same goal. Elon has been spearheading the fourth industrial revolution with a brain chip called Neuralink. As well as wanting to spray the skies to block the sun, just like Gates.
Good morning, America. Happy Sunday to you. Glad to be back with you.
Yes, back.
After a little bit
Little
of flight
travel
trouble.
snap.
Oh boy, a lot of
Got you
Americans
back.
feeling that. Yes, we do have a lot of news ahead this morning.
We had to expect things were going to change. We've been on a run here, some beautiful weather. I mean, just been great out there. Great day today, and it's a fine-looking night. It is 67. High temperature today in the city. You should hit 81. You were 79. You're right there. Hot spot, Somerville at 82. Chilliest reading anywhere. Belmar on the Jersey Shore hits 73. Skies are looking just great. Same high pressure system in control again tomorrow.
Still 7 on the play clock. Simpson ends on Ryan Williams. Touchdown.
We apologize for the interruption, but we have confirmed reports of violence across the entire city.
𝗧𝗔𝗞𝗘 𝗟𝗢𝗢𝗞
Bla. 𝗧𝗔𝗞𝗘 Bila thil komara hem haki hita. Hitha hivo denale dena. Kokavel dena a faith lekom. Antun. Hivo lekom. Antun maha amanin bi. Watinda undi ehwe ana arth. Koste. Chaya. Laitayna shalabalehin biati.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go wild.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322?
This would be the time, because you really need to bring China into the creation of a new world order.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
To the fallen, leave me to be with the broken one last time before I go. Hold the last burning ember, let us never surrender. May we rise up to the call for the glory and the fall.